guys? I'm here back with another episode video, and today we're going over the balance adjustment for December 23rd. Here we go. So it looks like we got two 5-star Moonlight heroes getting buffs, along with one RGB hero and a few 3-star units. So right out the gate, Archdemon Shadow and Judge Kise buffs incoming. Let's take a look. We also got two 5-star artifacts, Wind Rider and Fairy Tale for a Nightmare. So that's I think gonna be something really interesting. So here we go. So Archdemon Shadow, she's getting an ignore effect res on her Soulburn, and I think that is huge. Again, anytime you have ignore effect resistance, that skill is usually pretty OP or pretty broken. She's also getting an increased chance to activate her burst on her S2, so 40% chance. And yeah, it's I think that's pretty strong. Her dissolution attacks all enemies with the power of Ilros with a 70% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns and a 100% chance to each inflict 2 burn effects. 70% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns. That's kind of nuts. So overall, her buffs are kind of insane. I think she's gonna be a powerhouse now in RTA. If you have Archdemon Shadow, she's getting a higher chance to activate her main debuff skill. She's getting that effect res. She's gonna be sealing everything. She's getting another turn, burning her. She was already kind of nuts before, but I think a lot of people didn't pick her because of her chance to proc and the seal almost never landing, right? But now you're getting that Soulburn on the S1, which is it's pretty it's pretty disgusting, honestly. So if you have Archdemon Shadow, GG. Moving on to Judge Kise. In End of Evil, attacks all enemies with a scythe with a 75% chance to dispel a buff. So she's stripped from each enemy. Damage dealt increases with more enemies. Soulburn would give her an extra turn. So it looks like they removed the Soulburn and the 75% chance to dispel a buff. And now she has a decreased hit chance for 1 turn. So attacks all enemies. So it's an AoE decreased hit chance. Wave of Light attacks all enemies by distorting space and time with a 75% chance to increase skill cooldown. So skill cooldown reset, I guess you could call it. Now attacks all enemies by distorting space and time before an 80% chance each to dispel 1 buff. So she strips and she increases skill cooldown 2 times by 1 turn. Grant skill nullifier once to the caster. Damage dealt increases with more enemies. So it looks like they put most of her abilities onto the S3, right? That's her S3. 80% chance to dispel 1 buff, so she strips, and then she gets skill nullifier. So giving her some protection. I don't know if this is the best for her. I think that she still gets countered very hard by counter units, right? Anyone that can counter, namely Violet, he's gonna remove that skill nullifier, and then Rem is gonna go and just destroy everyone, right? But I don't know, maybe she has the Soulburn on the Wave of Light, but I don't know if that's still enough, right? So Wave of Light, is she getting a damage increase? They're kind of changing up her skill enhancement, right? She's getting increased damage dealt on her skill enhancement, which is nice, right? So it says many players have been making good use of Judge Kise by using her skills with the help of Soulburn. However, her performance in battles was considered not so threatening when Soulburn is not available. Yeah, because she couldn't S2 into S3. So now her skill Wave of Light will have more effect, allowing players to use a skill more often in various battle situations. The root will now be Wave of Light, and players will be able to cast multiple skills in a row after these adjustments. So I don't know, does this make her now just like a control unit, right? Because you can just go first. She has pretty decent base speed. You can go first, reset, skill reset, just bunch of effectiveness. but you still want to do damage, right? So maybe you build her like a Flitica or something like that, right? Like 100% crit chance if you're cleaving with her, right? You build her 100% crit chance, a lot of effectiveness and speed, and you have her go first, right? She strips, she reduces the skill cooldown by 1 turn, 2 times by 1 turn, and she gets skill nullifier, so she at least gets some protection. So I don't know, maybe that's a play, right? Like maybe you just take your like AOL gear and you slap it onto Judge Kise. Hey, maybe that's the play. We gotta wait and see. For those of you that have Judge Kise, let me know how you plan to use her. Melissa is getting some buffs, so I don't know if 5-star RGB Melissa needed buffs. Didn't she already get buffs in the past? Okay, let's see. Attacks by unleashing the inner rage before granting immortality and immunity to the caster for 1 turn. This skill cooldown is reset when the enemy is defeated. So she gets immunity now, which is, I guess, nice. It's a nice bonus. Blood Bloom dispels all buffs from the enemy before attacking by releasing their pent-up aggression, cursing for 2 turns, regardless of whether the attack hits. So Rylet, GG, right? Regardless of whether the attack hits. So this is going to land no matter what, even on a miss. Dispels all buffs regardless whether the attack hits. Yeah. So it's, and then she gets another turn. Like I said, I don't know whether or not she needed buffs, but I'm sure anyone that uses Melissa is really going to like now that she has built-in immunity and has a 100% chance to land that. And it's yeah, I think, I mean, if you can use her, go for it, right? Go for it. But I think immunity is pretty big. 3-star Lorina here, damage now increased proportional to the target's max health. So she has a built-in Daydream Joker now. So that is actually really, really nice. So now you can put her on something else like portrait. I have so many portraits that I don't use, but that's probably what I'll put her on. Any other kind of damage artifact, right? So damage dealt increased proportional to target's max health. Again, she's great in PvE, Labyrinth mainly, against big bosses, even in Abyss. So now she's getting a, let's see, when spiritual armament is activated, it increases defense by an additional 5%. That's kind of nuts. So she's getting a lot of bulk, right? Increases the rate of combat readiness reduction, spiral breakthrough by 15%. So she's getting another 10% combat readiness reduction and an additional 4% defense. That's really, really nice. Her glory rune, when using spiral breakthrough, increases damage dealt against elite or boss monsters by 20%. So now she has an increased damage against elite and boss monsters by 20%, and she deals damage proportional to the target's max health. So she has built-in DDJ and just an innate 20% attack increased damage dealt to boss monsters. So PvE monster, is Command Lorina still useful in 2021? Yes. PvE monster, calling it right now. Wanda is also getting some buffs. Before, her weak point shoots an arrow at the enemy. When the enemy is targeted, damage dealt is increased and their combat readiness is decreased by 15%. Now she shoots an arrow at the enemy, decreasing combat readiness by 15%. Damage dealt increases when the enemy is targeted. So now you don't have to target the enemy in order to get that decreased combat readiness, which I think is pretty nice, because then you don't have to rely on like Song of Stars or her passive in order to land that target. So moving on, 1 shot, 1 kill. This is her S3, attacks the enemy by exploding a flare with a 100% chance each to stun for 1 turn and decrease speed for 2 turns. Is that on her awakening? That's a 2-turn stun with a 100% chance each to stun and decrease speed for 2 turns. That unit is never getting a turn. So before it was a 50% chance to make them unhealable. Now it's a 100% chance to stun and decrease speed for 2 turns. So again, Rylet, GG. Her awakened rune, her achievement rune increases hit chance of weak point by 70%. So now she has a 30% bump in her hit chance. So she has a 70% hit chance. That's kind of nuts. Her wedge rune, speed rune, she has a 100% chance to grant it stealth for 1 turn. Before, I don't think that she got stealth, right? So she has a built-in guiding light. That's pretty cool. That's going to give her a lot of survivability. Wedge rune, when using one shot, when killed, has a 100% chance to decrease buff duration of the target by 1 turn before the effect. So she has like a partial strip on her S3, which is, I think Archdemon Shadow and Wanda are so far the winners of this buff patch, right? So Wanda's basic skill will now decrease combat range of the target regardless of their status. So she's going to be enhanced her defensive abilities and make the hero excel at overwhelming single enemies, right? So right away, of course, Rylet, my boy Rylet, but now you can bring her in as a single target lockdown unit, right? Mainly AOL. I'm thinking AOL. All-Rounder Wanda does have pretty decent base speed, so you could bring her in to lock down like an AOL or something like that. And then she has that built-in guiding light, so it's going to keep her from getting targeted by another unit or something like that. But I mean, we got to wait and see. 5-star artifacts, Wind Rider and Fairy Tale for Nightmare. So let's take a look at Wind Rider. When the caster defeats an enemy with an attack, cast stealth for 1 turn and increases attack by 60%. Now it increases attack by 20% just built in. So you have a 20% increase in attack when the caster defeats an enemy with an attack, cast stealth for 1 turn and increases attack of the caster by 40% for 1 turn. So they reduced the increase in attack, but they gave you just a built-in 20% attack increase, which if you're a cleaver, I think it's something nice. You don't have to get a kill in order to get those buffs, which is always something that can be used, right? Fairy Tale for a Nightmare. I think this artifact is going to make Archdemon Shadow broken, insanely broken. Okay, so Fairy Tale for a Nightmare. Before this artifact, okay, so it is a limited artifact, so it's on banner right now with Fairy Tale Tenebria. So if you do have this artifact, it's getting some buffs, which limited artifacts don't usually get buffs, and usually when they do, they're kind of insane. So before, if the caster attacks when it's not their turn, deals fixed damage. So you just deal fixed damage, that's it. Now, after an extra attack, counter attack, and dual attack, has a 60% chance to dispel 1 buff from the target and a 100% chance to deal 1500 fixed damage. That's, just imagine this on Archdemon Shadow after she goes with her S1, seals somebody, and then she attacks again with her passive, right? She has a 60% chance to dispel 1 buff, and then she's gonna deal fixed damage. That's kind of broken, right? Just imagine how many attacks she's going to be getting if she's on a counter set. That's okay. I think it's been a while since I've thought any unit has been like insanely broken, but Archdemon Shadow's buffs are very solid now, and this artifact is getting buffs. Now, granted, it is only a 60% chance to dispel 1 buff, but you're always going to have that fixed damage, right? 60% chance is still 60% chance, but I think this now makes her best in slot artifact, right? And I think this 100% chance means that it has to be max limit broken, right? That's a feels bad. So I guess we'll see with the buffs, but I think now this artifact has to be max limit if you want the fixed damage, right? Because it's 100% chance. So meaning that it's going to start at plus 15 at what, like 70%? Is that what it starts at? Like 70% chance to deal fixed damage? Which, if it works that way, I don't know. I don't know if that's the best, but I mean, I guess they had to build in some kind of whale artifact into that. But hey, it is what it is. And everything here is coming on December 23rd. So I think the biggest winners here are Rounder Wanda, Archdemon Shadow, and Commander Lorina are the winners of this buff event. You know, I was really expecting Judge Kise to have like insane buffs too. Like, you know, why didn't they just give her, I think mainly like an uncounterable, you know, how a lot of units have, they can't be countered, like Spectene can't be countered, Landy can't be countered. I think that would have made her like up there in the cleave status, maybe put her back into RTA. But, you know, I don't think that she's completely useless. I think now she can definitely be used like a very fast cooldown reduction unit, if that's what you want to go for with Judge Kise. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like always, if you haven't enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who like content like this. Let me know your thoughts of all the buff units, who you were expecting to see in the comment section below. My girl Solitaria buffs when. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.